Woo! Here we are. Okay, maybe here we are. Haha! Hello, everyone. Welcome to Pour It 4. Sorry about last week. There was a host of issues on Friday. But here we are. We're gonna wander out here. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm hitting weird things. Okay. We're gonna wander out here. I'm not living my best life. I'm not living my best life, everyone. It's Keith.
Hello, everybody.
So there's a couple of things about why we didn't do a Friday show. One, we got some of these new lights up front. I can't go too far because my internet will cut off, but see, we did some up there. Very exciting. The other thing is, remember when we said I had an allergic reaction? It got real bad. So I was home Friday. I am fine. I don't look great.
You look fine.
Fine is the key word.
Oh
anyway, we are going to wrap up Decades Week. We are going to move into Lowball Week tomorrow, so we're going to do a couple of cocktails tomorrow, but we wanted to remind you how bad drinks were in the 80s.
And by bad, we mean refreshing.
No, they're just bad.
Not joyous.
So today we're going to finish up Decades Week, which what we were going to do on Friday. Those recipes have already been posted, so spoiler alert, we're making a sex on the beach.
Sex on sweet lovin' on the sandy beach.
Oh God, I hate sand, I hate beaches.
Sand in so many
Yeah, that's
places.
just a bad idea. But this furthers the idea that, one, this is vodka overtook all drinks
Vodka did
as
everything.
the number one, and you put it in everything. Two, it was about getting drunk. It wasn't about a good cocktail. So the 80s were not about like, hey, nuance, subtlety.
No, vodka's strong suit is you can put it in a lot of drinks and not realize how strong they are. It had been a minute since I made a sex on the beach. It was one of the earlier cocktails I remember doing because the ingredients are always pretty.
And what's funny though is you and I had remembered there's apparently four.
Yeah, there's like 4 or 5 different
There's
recipes.
4 common variations. Keith and I both remembered an entirely different one.
Well,
probably from where we grew up.
You were always talking about it being too sweet.
Yes.
And yours was made with pineapple juice.
Mine used 3 juices, pineapple being one of them.
Mine was always cranberry. Like vodka and cranberry and peach is always guaranteed. But the juices, after that changed, whether it was orange, pineapple, or grapefruit, or some combination
or a
of
combination of
orange
those.
Yeah.
So which one are we making today? We're making
the simplest, most
Okay, so this is the Mr. Boston version.
This is what is on like the Bartenders Association.
Yeah.
The most commonly referred to as the constant sex on the beach. And what's wonderful is it is a super easy.
It is very easy.
Super dangerous drink.
That just sums up the 80s. Super easy, super dangerous.
We're going to take, you don't even actually have to mix this drink.
You don't.
We're going to do 2 ounces vodka. 1 ounce peach schnapps.
Which I feel like is a lot.
Generous dose of peach schnapps. And then it's 2 ounces cranberry.
Again, we have a really high quality cranberry juice down here. If you're using cranberry juice cocktail, I would add a little lemon juice just to cut the sugar.
Mm-hmm. And then 2 ounces. Orange juice.
And
voila.
Another reason, if you're using cranberry juice cocktail, this is going to look a little bit more layered. Again, our cranberry is just a really high quality, so it doesn't quite have the same viscosity.
It's so irresponsible to have this whole cocktail
So
To
that
myself.
is the definitive cocktail of the 80s. Some of you know it as a shooter. And if you do it in shot form, you do use the pineapple juice.
Yeah, in a shot, it's going to be a lot friendlier. In a shot, pineapple juice. Just
It'd be a lot
more
easier. So again, the 80s were not necessarily about. We continued on the sexual innuendo theme of the 70s of, oh hey, look, I'm so free and open. I just make these drinks that are kind of in your face. Also, it was about just go big. A lot of booze. Long Island's in the late 80s, early 90s made a comeback as well.
The 80s and 90s were,
I'm going to flip this
again,
around.
more about getting drunk.
It was.
Not about enjoying the alcohol. It's like alcohol hadn't come back into its own as something pleasant again. So in one aspect, it was kind of a heyday for cocktails.
It's so peachy. I am not a huge fan of peach schnapps in general. A little goes a long way, and 1 ounce. If you like peach, this certainly is a drink for you.
It'll go.
Yeah, it was never a favorite of mine.
But it is what it falls in, like the fuzzy navels.
Also not a favorite of mine. I will say our cranberry makes this cocktail a million times better than anything I ever made in a bar.
It's less sweet. It's so much less
cranberry
sweet.
cocktail. For those who are into juices, when you're doing drinks with cranberry, I highly, highly suggest not getting cranberry juice cocktail. Just get regular cranberry juice. It can have sugar. The Ocean Spray makes a nice cranberry juice, but the cranberry cocktail
is meant to cut all the tartness. I like that. I'm still stuck on into juices.
If
Like
you're
there's
into
someone that
juice-
has like
somebody's
5 different Jack Delaines just going at once.
someone somewhere is into juices, and I'm not going to judge you.
Really, a juice.
Yeah.
A juice aficionado.
I'm not going to judge you. Also, I'm going to apologize if this sounds weird. Governor Parsons is doing his stuff, so.
So we have actually a direct cranberry
Make
juice
this.
concentrate that we're able to get. That is,
It's from Old Orchard.
it's from Old Orchard. I don't know if it would be the same one as what you would find if you went for the frozen juice concentrates in stores.
It's probably closer to a frozen juice concentrate than it is to anything in plastic on the shelf. In general, the frozen juice concentrates are better.
Well, and cranberry juice cocktails sell so much more. It's what people expect.
Yeah, they expect sugar.
Yeah, and cranberry is not sugar to anyone that's bit into a straight cranberry. It's tart. It's actually what makes it so perfect for doing Cape Cods and for doing it,
So if you are looking to get something similar, I would get the Old Orchard frozen juice concentrate as your cranberry. And honestly, you can even use those in small batches. Take it out of the bin, put it in some type of Ziploc, and just spoon out what you want to make,
and then
and just refreeze the rest. So you don't have to make the whole can of juice. Now, obviously, if you're making sex on the beach, you're not doing it to have one, and you're not doing it for yourself. It's for
well, and if
a
you
group.
even look at the recipes, they talk about
go
how
off camera for
it
a
just
minute.
rubs some sex on the beach on.
I have a weird allergic reaction going on in my legs, so if I just disappear...
Just put more sex on the beach on it. It's fine. It's topical. They mentioned it.
Just dump that on there.
It is because one of the aspects about this, yes, it's strong. It's a great poolside drink. It's also not carbonated.
Yeah.
By not being carbonated, you can make up a nice big just beverage dispenser of it and have it on hand.
Sun tea pitcher type thing. This would be definitely one to just
make a picture of it and then pass out to your friends at a party. It is a great party cocktail.
Yeah. So, when we were researching the 80s cocktails, again, this is the most iconic one, the Alabama Slama, which is another one which also involves a lot of vodka and juice. And then Long Island iced teas between 87 and 94 got really big, which were also not about taste. They were about getting drunk. Most of the main cocktails from the 80s, and even honestly through the mid 90s, Because again, in the 90s, we start getting, there is no cocktail for the 90s, because the one that everybody thinks of was really like 98 to 04, which is the Cosmo. But the early 90s were really about, late 80s, early 90s were about malt beverages.
It was that convenience. How do you get to the convenience? You know, for as much as I know personally, me and you especially bash the whole mixology term.
Yeah.
They were the ones that kind of brought back, hey, making cocktails is a craft.
And it's a skill, and it takes effort and time. But yeah,
maybe that's the level of elevation that it came to. But.
Yeah, the backlash of that, God bless it, again, we kind of swung full back to the other side because people, you know, this was the highlight. Sex on the Beach was the pinnacle of cocktail making in the 80s.
And what's wrong with that?
It has an ounce of peach schnapps in it. That's what's wrong with it. But then we started getting into the Bartles and James years, which is not wine, it's not spirits, it is malted beer. That's also what a lot of stuff in canned cocktails is now. If it doesn't say the spirit, and that's a tax thing.
Well, as of again with us recently, it only is until now where you're going to get canned cocktails that are actual cocktails. The
hard lemonades, the Zimas, all of those became really big in the late 80s, early 90s. And those are all made with a type of beer, and it is
premium malt beverage.
Premium malt beverage. It's a tax thing. Beer and wine wine pays different taxes than everybody. Beer pays a different structure, and then spirits has its own entire structure. As we tell everybody, alcohol is not one thing, and that also includes laws and taxes. And it's not one thing to the law and the tax.
We were also limited much harder by what we could put our spirits in.
There's a reason you don't see as many styles of spirit as you do. Like, you don't see a growler of spirits. That is not an allowable size.
Now, you can get the handle of it,
yes.
But the growler, not so much.
We have 7 sizes. But yeah, the Zima,
Never
Zima.
say Zima so excitedly.
Mad Dog 2020 MD.
Mogan David.
Mad Dog.
It is a wine.
If I said Mogan David, how many of you would know that I meant Mad Dog 2020?
It's what you get when you put your wine in a flask.
That was really popular in the 90s. Again, that's when we started, other than standard wine, which is another whole class of liquor. That started to get really popular. So yes, these craft bartenders, these guys came back and went,
we did
garbage.
Kamikazes earlier.
We did do Kamikaze. It was shots. In the shots episode, that is the most famous shots. And again, the 90s continued the trend of it was about getting drunk. It wasn't about it tasting good, enjoying it, and savoring, pairing flavors.
Tasting good enough to get you
good
drunk.
Enough. Tasting good and tasting good enough
are not the same thing.
Very different measures.
This is good enough that the third one's going to be fantastic.
But really, a kamikaze, as we said in that episode, is really just a condensed gimlet. It's a vodka
really
gimlet. Which, again, everything old is new again. We just were doing it in a new form.
I've not done
Purple Passion.
I haven't done one of those in forever.
Holy crap. Purple Passion slushies. Also a malt beverage. Guys, the malt beverage trend between 87 and probably 96, 97 probably reached its peak when 98 when Smirnoff Ice came out. Not made from Smirnoff vodka, y'all.
No.
I don't know if you think that that's vodka. It ain't. It's a malt beverage.
All the whole hard lemonades.
That's not. That's all beer.
Well, Jack Daniels has that whole brand of thing. Those are all not.
Yeah, no, it's all a type of beer. But I remember Purple Passions.
I do not remember Purple Passion.
I remember you made slushies out of them. At least we did.
I made many a slushie.
You just dump some Purple Passion in a blender full of ice, and there you go. Oh, well, good. We're very happy. We hope. And again, Sarah, I saw Sarah was watching. She had texted me a couple of things about I need to start making better cocktails, and I agreed with her. And she had asked me, just so everybody at home knows, she asked if she could substitute agave syrup for simple syrup. Of course you can.
It'll add a little bit of character.
And that's what I said. I go, I actually think it'll add a little bit more depth, I think, than a simple syrup, and you'll like it. But please, at home,
play.
Experiment. This is how this stuff gets.
It tasted like Purple Passion.
It tasted like purple. If you can imagine what purple tasted like.
A Dime-a-Tap slushy.
You know, it tasted like you took, not the amoxicillin, but the kids' medicine.
A Dime-a-Tap is what I
Yeah,
think of.
but not,
Grape.
it wasn't as alcohol-y, but it tasted...
I had very alcohol-y Dime-a-Tap.
I think it was supposed to be grape, but it was that very artificial...
Grape soda and Everclear.
Yeah, what did we make? Everclear and Sundrop was real big
Everclear
in the 90s.
and blank.
Yeah, that was real big around here in the 90s. Again, 80s and 90s drinking was not about good drinking. It had a purpose.
You had a focus.
And it wasn't for it to be good.
The focus was to be out of focus.
Yes. And then it was late 90s, really, mid to late 90s, when people started going, why do we have to keep drinking these malt beverages?
We're getting a lot of great lists of things we need to do here. The Mind Eraser.
Yes, those are shots. A lot of those are shots. A Mind Eraser was a big shot.
Oh yeah, very popular.
But it wasn't a shot.
Like
So this will end Decade Week because it really doesn't. There's nowhere to go, and we will move on to. We can't make a Mind Eraser. We don't make any of those things.
Yeah, I don't think we make all.
Yeah.
We also got to work with what we have.
Yeah,
so it'd
it's
be
four
bastardized pretty quickly.
4 straight liquors, I believe, and done out of a straw. You have to you take as many straws as you can. It was, again, shots, as we said in the shot episode, is more about the ritual of the shot.
Which is why so many of them came with it, or the aesthetic appeal of a shot.
It either looked really pretty, or you had to do this crazy, like, take it without your hands, gather all the straws at the table.
It's on fire.
We lit it on fire, but no. Mind Erasers had nothing to do with the taste at all. They actually taste horrible.
Many a shot had nothing to do with the taste.
But we are speaking of taste, we're going to move into Lowball Week, which is on the rocks. There are a lot of really good cocktails that you should. They're not martinis because they take a little bit more than gin and vermouth or something in vermouth. But there's a couple of really great low balls we're going to do this week. One I'm really excited about is the Boulevardier to show people.
And there's one I want to add to it, too. And the reason I say it, we got to work with Noble Ice a little earlier last week.
Yeah.
And they gave us a fantastic port. And I kind of want to make a New York sour.
Perfect.
Using that port. I do know we have to kind of wrap things up.
The
phone's giving us the
I'm gonna die, but
so I'm tagging Noble Ice in as one of my shout outs.
We will add tomorrow we'll do Lowball, we'll do Monday and Tuesday together. So we'll be really excited about that. But thanks for bearing with us with all of the technical difficulties last week. Our shout outs today, Noble Ice, they're doing bottle sales.
They are doing bottle sales. There's a few guys doing bottle sales, so follow up with them.
And for those who are interested, we will, again, Governor Parsons is releasing now what guidance is suggested. We will figure out what we're doing, but we will not be open for tastings for a bit. But we will release what that looks like, but we have curbside and stuff, so we will continue checking social media, tell your friends. We may have slightly adjusted hours in 2 weeks, but we'll look at that at another time. But
we're all kind of figuring it out. But
so in the meantime, tell myself, stay healthy.
Stay safe. And
also keep your spirits up. Thanks, guys. Thanks for joining us for Decade Week. We'll start Lowball Week tomorrow.
Zoom, 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 zoom.